Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's time for a Saturn review, and we're taking a look at one of the Saturn's 3 motorcycle games today. It's Manx TT, the other two being Hang On GP96 and Road Rash. Now I've double checked that this week with the snowboarding review of Steep Slope Sliders. I had someone tell me there are a couple of other Japan only snowboarding games, so I double checked this and I genuinely couldn't find any more motorcycle games. Now Manx TT came out in 1997 over here in the PAL territories, and it was a conversion of the 1995 arcade game and is based on the real life Isle of Man TT races.
Sega Manx TT Superbike.
So once you hit the main menu, you've got your general stuff: arcade mode, Saturn mode, time trial, 2-player, control configuration, sound configuration, and all the records for all the times of all the tracks. Controller setup pretty easy. L is brake, R is accelerate, assuming you're using the 3D pad of course, with Z and C changing gears, A and B changing views. Definitely recommend using the 3D pad. Heading into arcade mode, you just got two choices: Laxley course and TT course. The Laxley course being a made up track, whereas the TT course is genuinely based on the real life thing.
Get ready to race.
So like I always do, I'll break it down into the way the game looks, the way it plays, sounds, and its lifespan. And straight away you'll notice that Manx TT is a bright, colourful, it's a vibrant game. It's really appealing on the eyes actually. The courses, all the scenery looks good, the bikes look decent, the characters on the bike look decent. I genuinely think initially it's got a really good feel and a good appeal to the way it looks. It runs pretty nice as well, it's smooth, it's consistent, it's not jerky or anything like that, and I genuinely think Manx TT is a pretty decent looking game. That doesn't mean it's perfect. There is noticeable pop-up, especially on the first track. You can see hills just coming into view just like that. On the second course, the TT course itself, is more hidden because there's more bends and turns in the track, so the pop-up's not as noticeable, but on the first track it really is. Other little niggles and stuff, the white lines on the tracks pop into view, just sort of like, if you see it, you'll notice it straight away when you're playing the game. It's sort of really similar to Need for Speed actually, that happens on that game too. It's just I just find it a little bit irritating, to be honest. The mesh effect shadows are right, yeah, they're ugly, same as always, same as all mesh effect shadows. I don't like any of them, I've said that multiple times before. I'd rather just have a dark shadow, even if it does obscure the patterns of the road and stuff. I just think it's better. And the mesh effects on the windscreens of the bikes, they are ugly too. There's also a bit of a funny hit detection, collision detection on the game. I don't think it's that great. You can kind of go through other bikes at times, especially on the second track on the TT course. You can find there's a turn in which has a building on the left. You can practically drive through it and it makes a noise like you've hit something, but you just seem to go through the building and it's a bit just like it's not been polished up probably. But overall, Manx TT is a nice running game and it's relatively good looking on the eyes as well. So, talking about how it sounds, like most Sega arcade games, it's got a pretty good soundtrack. All the tunes are pretty listenable and they don't sound bad at all. I just genuinely think they're pretty good to listen to. Although they are quite short and probably you will find them repetitive after a while, because obviously there's not really much races on the game. You will be hearing the same tracks over and over again, so they do get repetitive. Sound effects for the bike's good. Yeah, no problems there with the tyre screeches, hitting at other bikes, engine noises, all pretty good. Nothing really bad to say if I'm honest, just the fact that the music does get a bit repetitive after time. So how does Manx TT play? Thankfully it plays really well, provided you have one thing, the Saturn analog controller, because this makes a world of difference. Playing this game with just the standard Saturn pad, I found myself oversteering too much and crashing, whereas using the analog stick, although the Saturn's analog stick isn't great, it really does improve the gameplay experience for this game. Using the R button to accelerate and the L button to brake as well, I find that better. This genuinely is a title that benefits massively from having an analog pad over the standard control pad, and The controls and the way it plays is absolutely great. It plays really well, just as good as Sega Rally, if I'm perfectly honest. I think all the bikes handle well, and you will notice they've got distinct differences when you're selecting your different bikes, whether you're doing Saturn mode or time trial mode. Although the statistics don't change much between handling, acceleration and top speed, they genuinely do affect the way the bikes handle, which is good, and it adds a bit of realism to the game as well. So, talking about the lifespan of the game, thankfully the game benefits from having a 2-player mode. Now, watching my footage, you'll realise probably that I was trying to control both bikes at the same time, and I sucked. But I basically wanted to show you the 2-player mode because there are some big-time cutbacks in the graphics department. In the 2-player mode, the pop-up is far more noticeable now. Thankfully, the game still runs pretty well, so you can have good races against a friend if you've got any. But yeah, the graphical details are just cut back. The scenery, it's just gone, and the pop-up is horrific as well. So the course genuinely feels a lot more sparse in 2-player mode, but it's there, so it adds longevity to the game. Time trial mode is there as well, which is basically pick your bike, pick your course, and try and set the fastest time you can, whether you want to just keep going endlessly or just do 3 laps or 5 laps. You can have a ghost bike as well, so you know if you're actually beating your current best time. It adds some longevity to the game. It's pretty much a good practice, if I'm perfectly honest, to get you used to the different bikes and get you used to all the turn-ins and all the corners for each of the tracks if you want to improve your time and have more chance of being successful in the Saturn mode. The Saturn mode being the main bulk of the game. Basically, you will do the first race. If you can finish the race with time remaining, you will go on to the second race. If you can finish that with time remaining, the first race you will do mirrored and reversed, and then if you can end with time remaining on that one, you will go on to the final race, which is the TT course, mirrored and reversed as well. So basically 4 races, and the idea is to try and complete all of them. Now, if you can end first in all of them, all 4 of them, you will unlock the Superbikes to use without having to use cheat codes, which you can actually just do anyway if you want to use them. So you don't actually have to become first in all 4 of those races to unlock them. You can just input codes. There are other input codes as well, one of which includes riding a sheep. And I never realised a sheep could hit speeds of over 180 miles an hour. And I've actually googled it. A sheep can only hit speeds of 25 miles an hour. But yeah, the sheeps on Manx TT, they can get up to nearly the speed of a Ferrari F40. So it's pretty interesting. To be fair, they just handle like a bike, in all honesty, and you do get a funky little tune instead of the standard ones when you decide to race as a sheep. And if you break the course record times in a sheep, using a sheep I should say, then when you enter your name on the records page, you will actually have a picture of the sheep by that time. So that is pretty cool. It's a novelty value, but it actually is pretty good to play as a sheep, if I'm perfectly honest. So the big question is, how does Manx TT hold up after all these years? And the fact that it plays great, it looks pretty good, the tunes are pretty good as well, all don't matter really, because it suffers from that problem that a load of Saturn games suffer from. It has no depth and a serious lack of content to sink your teeth into. There's just nothing there. There's no unlockable tracks. There is basically 2 courses which are then flipped and mirrored to make it seem like there's 4, and that is a killer. It's a real killer because the game plays well, the game looks well, it's got pretty good tunes and sound effects, but it is crippled by that longevity factor. Now, thankfully, the game is only £5, I think, from CEX still, so it remains one of the cheapest Saturn games to get. For that price, it's a definite no-brainer. It's well worth having in your collection due to the fact that it's enjoyable to play. You can pick it up, play it for 10 minutes maybe one day, put it down, and it serves a purpose. It kills a bit of time, and it's enjoyable to play as well. It's just the fact that there's just that massive lack of content that we've seen in so many Saturn arcade ports that they had at the time. It's just not there, and other games started adding in far more content, especially by 1997 when this came out. If I'd have paid £40 for it, I'd have probably felt cheated, in all honesty. But hey ho, it's a £5 for CEX. It's always in stock, so you can pick it up no problem and enjoy it for what it is. Now, have you got Manx TT? How do you rate it? Do you think it's up there as one of the better racing games on the Saturn, or perhaps a lack of content again for you? is a bit of a hindrance, let me know down below in the comments. And as always, I will see you again soon for another Saturn review. Goodbye for now.